Yes, I was waiting for it to get on mine.
When it does start. It might do. This live event will start in 4 minutes 44 seconds. It won't. It'll start now. If it works. Well, there's 2 people. We had 3 people waiting. Now there's only 2 people waiting. So,
That's us. I'll turn my...
Oh yes, it is an advert for Moonpig. So that's good. That'll earn us 4p. Welcome. We're just come on early
because we have.
Because we can, yeah. If I skip the advert, does that mean we lose money? I don't know. Welcome to the programme. It's the podcast. It's 4020 live. I've come dressed as a picnic blanket. So make sure we can get cheap in the sales from Sports Direct, isn't it? It's... Andy is here. Hello, Andy. He's a Warrington fan, isn't he? You'll be happy, Andy. We get the paper. Warrington won, surprisingly.
Last week wasn't surprising. They were playing Leeds.
Last week was a disaster for people in the Rugby League media tipping competition because obviously Cass won at St Helens. This week, everyone got everything right.
There's only 2 of us, by the way.
Yeah, where's James?
Well, he can't make it, but we did ask Gareth Southgate, and he went too soon.
Too soon.
Rugby League loving Gareth Southgate.
Are we claiming him now? Because if he'd won, Yorkshire would have won the Euros. That's the problem. Just wait for the Olympics.
He's been to Headingley. He lives in North Yorkshire.
Yorkshire's own. There's something else I was going to mention about the Euros. Oh no, it's James. That picture you don't do Facebook, which is good because you avoided the picture of him. I think you're about to jump in a lake or something, wearing a pair of swimming trunks that Tom Daly would be ashamed to wear. They were so small.
Are we talking budgie smuggler?
I don't want to comment any further.
Good job you're not here to defend yourself.
I know. It's bad enough on Saturday when we went to watch the wheelchair game and there's Joe Coyne wandering around without his top on. It's like, what's going on? What is going on? Rugby league is supposed to be about real men and stuff and there's all these blokes wandering around without clothes on. Hang on a minute. Hang on. What's going on here? Good evening to Carsten. Congrats on 2nd place. Oh. We won the Wimbledon. Mixed doubles or something and the wheelchair. So, darts is on. We'll probably win that. Won the test match in the cricket. The women beat New Zealand again in the T20s. Any other sport going on at the minute? I was running early. We couldn't just. It's not home. It's not home. When's it going to come home?
I'll have the light on in the porch.
I mean, I'm still not over the World Cup final in 2017. That was bad enough. Oh.
But Great Britain's coming back.
Great Britain are coming back.
And we can't yet announce the signing for Hawkeye because it's not quite 6
o'clock. Don't announce it yet. In the Guardian today, Aaron Bower says that Great Britain are coming back. A source at the Rugby Football League. They have sources. Great Britain's coming back for the Tour of Australia next year, which we don't know when the days are, so you can't book your tickets yet, but it's happening.
3 men's and 2 women's test matches, because the 3rd women's one is now in Las Vegas.
So when they've already put out that stuff saying England women versus Australia, they're going to have to colour it out and say it's Great Britain really.
Don't get the posters for the wall made yet. Might change.
Put Photoshop a Great Britain shirt on top of Jodie Cunningham and say, look, it's Great Britain now. Rich, if you undo the bottom buttons of your shirt and tie the sides in a knot, you would look like Daisy Duke.
I didn't know she had a beard.
No. Andy, whatever you think about it in your own time, we're not here to judge. This is a non-judgmental podcast. And I'm certainly not doing that, Carson. You're all right. So Great Britain's coming back, so that's great.
Well, the initial reports are it's being discussed to come back. And
why?
Well, I can understand it from a marketing point of view. The brand still has some resonance. The slight concern is the Rugby Union Lions are going there 2025. So again,
people might buy tickets to the wrong event.
Well, no, it's more that you spend all this time trying to market a concept to find that somebody has usurped your concept and gone before you, which wouldn't be the first time that's happened in rugby league. There isn't a problem. It's I guess it's a valid idea. The point would be what makes the Lions distinguished from England, and that is you've got to have players in who represent the other nations. And if you're going to do it, don't do it once, because we did it in 2019 and now we're thinking of doing it again in 2020. When would we do it again? How would this become a regular thing? So don't do it just as a one-off because you think It might work sending a team over to Australia that the public over there recognise more than England, or appreciate their historic precedent more than England. What are you actually doing it for, and how is it going to be representative? I can think of a couple of players off the top of my head who you could say, well, one has represented Scotland, the other is eligible to represent Wales, who would enhance the squad. So rather than being tokenistic, all great respect to Ronan Michael. You know, he's Irish, he's making a professional career. Don't think he's eligible to play at that level, but on merit. He's obviously, I hope one day he would be. But clearly, James Bell has played for Scotland, and I think at the moment he's one of the former players in Super League, so he would merit the consideration of selection. And the other would be Bradman Best, who could actually be playing for Australia, but he's eligible to play for Wales. And there was talk before the last World Cup had been, approached by Wales. So I think he was injured in the end, and either didn't play or he did make the Aussie squad. I can't quite remember. I've blocked out the fact that we didn't get out of the semi-finals. So they're the calibre of player you could go for. Luke Keary clearly will be playing for.
So it's Great Britain, not and brackets Ireland, and
Well,
don't do anthems. Just don't do that bit.
But Luke Keary will be over here, pre-season for Catalan Dragons. He's Irish, played in the World Cup for Ireland. So you'd have to be looking at that calibre of player, and there'd have to be a commitment to make it representative. Otherwise, it is just England by another name. And supporters, even in Australia, will not tolerate something where they're being told it's one thing and it's actually something else. So, yeah, it's worth the debate, absolutely. But when are we going to do it again after that?
I mean, just in case they make another documentary and they use clips from this podcast again, I better speak clearly and enunciate. So Great Britain, brackets, and Ireland. British Isles 13, whatever. Andy says the Lions don't need to have players from every nation. The Lions are there to represent the Great Britain and Ireland, rather.
Yeah, but I think they do need to have representation beyond just England. Otherwise, you're trying to artificially produce something that doesn't mean anything.
To sell shirts.
Yeah.
Bring that back again. So if you're Sean Wayne, he's the England coach, last time Wayne Bennett was the England coach and got co-opted into the role, which, as we know, because we've watched the documentary, went brilliantly. Great tour, great success. The shirts were nice, but I finally got a holiday.
If I'm Sean Wayne and it's proposed to me that it becomes Great Britain, and therefore you will need to take some players that represent the wider game, otherwise there's no point doing it, I'd be saying, you do know there's a World Cup in 2026. I was going to use this tour to home up my best team against the opposition that we're going to be playing, so I'd rather not, thank you.
Who's the Great Britain coach then? Ian Watson, he went on the last one, he could do it. He's not doing anything at the minute.
Danny Ward, they could go together. Danny is doing something at the moment. He's assistant at Hull KR, but
and the women are going to be Great Britain as well for the first time since 2003. I'm going to say,
yeah,
but I could be wrong.
Correct.
So I don't. But again, it's the same question: are you just going as a gimmick?
That's what you've got to avoid. You've seriously got to say, who could we take that would make it representative of? Well, obviously Scotland women don't have that at the moment. Ireland are getting to the point, but they will have a very important game to see if they can qualify for the World Series, the repechage for the World Cup, but they're not quite at that level yet. So you're looking at who in the Welsh team could possibly be an addition to the England squad, and there probably is only one player who's Bethan Dainton, the captain. So
that is just selling shirts under a different name. But but again, the same question would be, Stuart Barrow's got to build his squad for the World Cup.
Yeah,
as well.
and to be honest, if you are going to Las Vegas and you're trying to appeal in part to the American market, England actually is more resonant than Great Britain.
Because they don't know. They know it. Scotland, that's part of England.
Yeah.
He says in an American accent.
Yeah.
Apologies to our American listener. I think we've got some. We used to have some Canadians, but we ran them out of the sport. So Great Britain might be coming back, or might not be. But we'll see.
It's gone 6 o'clock.
I know. Do you want to break the embargo? Well, not break the embargo.
No.
Big transfer news. Diddle-a-dun.
Yeah, Hull KR have signed Bill Leyland who is London Broncos hooker, who was the Championship Player of the Year last year, but unfortunately damaged the ACL in pre-season training, so hasn't played in Super League this year. A terrific prospect. I think we know that Matt Parcell is not going to be at Hull KR next year, so to get Bill Leyland in, that's a significant signing for Rovers, and it'd be great to see if he can make his name at Super League level. The shame being he's not going to be able to do it with London because they'll be in the Championship next year.
The great thing about the potential return for Great Britain is for those who like to put together mythical teams. Last week people were putting together a mythical Hull combined 13, which surely would just be Hull Kingston Rovers players, because who from the Hull FC squad would get in? Let me look at the table. Hull FC second bottom, Hull KR third. So that's no one, is it? The 13, the 17-man squad, 18, 19, the full squad is Hull Kingston Rovers players. So if you were to build a Great Britain squad now, that's the challenge for the journalists. That's a week's worth of stuff there.
5 players who could play for Great Britain.
There you go. Andy says Sean Wayne's national teams are Wigan and one AN other anyways. That's a bit harsh. A few St Helens players in there. Toby King's Irish, isn't he?
Yes, although he was Irish.
Is George
English.
King Irish?
George King is, but he can't get in the Hull KR team at the moment. Huddersfield have sold Luke Yates today. That's the other piece of news from today, that he's gone now. He's going to be playing for Warrington on Friday, and as a result of that, Huddersfield have recalled Matty English from Castleford. Warrington apparently paid a fee to get Luke Yates, so for 10 games. I don't know what that was.
See, the Brad Arthur of players.
It's a great signing for Warrington, but clearly that's fallout of Ian Watson, who he followed from Salford to Huddersfield, no longer being a Huddersfield coach, which broke, 3 or 4 days after our podcast?
When we said they shouldn't change. Yeah, we've not got a good record of this stuff at the minute. It's not going well for us. Andy says Hull FC are already a combined team without Hull KR. I mean, they're Lee Leopards in disguise next year. I hope people like that hilarious thing of Leto I did last week. I was trying to find a picture of Derek Beaumont, but I couldn't find one good enough to steal. And he says, oh yeah, of course, Gates Hull from the Sharks. For all those people. The dot gets on to Huddersfield, Sheffield. Ian Watson then has left Huddersfield.
Stood down.
Stood down, sorry. What does that mean? Does that mean he's still being paid by the club?
Yeah, we haven't yet.
He's on gardening leave.
We had a board meeting, decided we needed to make a change. We haven't yet spoken to Ian about exactly what we're going to give him by way of compensation. So he stood down, and he's agreed to stand down, which is why there's a non-disclosure agreement for either party to talk about what's actually happened.
And he's doing the show today. The fee for Luke Yates helps to pay off Ian Watson.
I don't think Huddersfield are short of money.
2+2.
They're short of finding a formula that actually works for them. Although Luke Robinson, I think, again, we talk about, who should take over? And Luke Robinson deserves his chance to at least see out the season. The likelihood is Huddersfield are not going to make the playoffs. So him and Andy Kelly can set things in motion for next year and see how they get on. And if it works, then don't go down the route you've always gone down of probably going to Australia, hiring an assistant, and it not working out in 2 years' time.
So one of the league leaders shunned under Nathan Brown, I think.
Or was that Paul Anderson?
It's one of the two, isn't it? Yeah. He left and Paul Anderson took over.
Yeah.
So Paul Anderson left in 2016. Since then, Chris Thorman's had the caretaker job about 1 million times, like Luke Robinson. Then you've got Rick Stone.
Yep.
Our mate who listened to the podcast, Simon Wolford.
Yep.
I'm guessing he still does. He doesn't anymore. And
doesn't
then
need to.
Ian Watson now. So this is 3 coaches plus 1 million caretakers in between.
All spending the full salary cap.
So surely, if they've had different coaches with different philosophies, one assumes, I don't know anything, do I? Then surely if it's not the coaches and it's not the players, it's amazing how the players play better when a coach leaves, and it's always odd how that happens. But they still lost.
Certain players who probably are given a chance that they wouldn't have had under the previous coach. For example, Matty English going out on loan.
Still lost. So,
although apparently it was a better performance, 2016 at Leigh.
But they lost.
But they did lose.
So, surely the question's got to be, if it's not the coaches, and it's not successive groups of players, because obviously players come and go all the time, the problem must be somewhere else within the Huddersfield hierarchy.
someone or people who have been there throughout that entire period.
That's just an assumption.
Yeah. It's a logical assumption.
I don't deal with logic, do we? The problem with the Giants, says Andy, is they don't have a respectable academy side. But they bring players through, don't they? So I don't know if that's necessarily...
started. They have started. But I think we mentioned it last week, didn't we? When obviously Ian Watson was still in post, that the manner in which Jermaine McGilvery has been dealt with in terms of virtually discarded without going through the heroic send-off he should have had for the service that he gave them, probably gives an indication to instability there somewhere.
In his senior,
and I don't know where that responsibility lies, obviously.
In his senior, he's the joint second try scorer in the competition, and he plays for the team that are below Huddersfield in the table. Not that I'm saying that in his senior would necessarily make Huddersfield a better side, but that's just numbers in front of you. So what is wrong with Huddersfield? And does it matter if there's anything wrong with Huddersfield? Because as I said before, they've got a loyal band of supporters, but they don't get any bigger, despite everything they try to do.
And I also think they're not hugely vociferous. So when you've had clubs who have gone through similar sorts of issues, it becomes a groundswell. But it doesn't ever seem to happen at Huddersfield.
And this is the club, of course, who last year made a... Is it fair to say song and dance about their women's team going professional? They certainly certainly made more of it than, say... did they make more of it than York would have done? And York were actually paying players and giving them contracts and maternity pay and stuff. And more than one or two players.
Did Huddersfield only do it for players that were internationals?
Something like that.
Which obviously at the time was one, possibly two players.
So, quote-unquote professional Huddersfield lost to Barrow at the weekend.
Yeah.
So it's not just the men, it's the whole...
And because of the stadium agreement, the women don't play as double headers with the men. So again, they're still at Lawn Hill, and it almost seems a little bit dislocated in so many aspects. They got to a cup final and never kicked on. 2022. That was going to be, the moment for this Ian Watson team to mount a concert. I remember speaking to I think possibly him and a couple of other people in the mix zone, and they were saying, "We've lost. We're annoyed that we had an opportunity because they were only 4 minutes away from holding out and winning it, and they went a little bit conservative, and Wigan produced a play to win it, and they were saying, right, but this is just the start. We're going to be a regular playoff contender, and it's just not happened from that very moment."
So in the past 5 seasons, Ian Watson has got to 2 Challenge Cup finals and the Grand Final with Salford and Huddersfield. So he's obviously not a bad coach. And hasn't
clearly
become
not. Absolutely
a bad
not.
coach
Absolutely
overnight.
not.
And got to those finals with at Salford limited resource, and at Huddersfield, as you said before, they're spending the cap, so they must be sending it in the wrong places. But he's not a bad coach.
No.
So
his record would say that he will get another job, or as and when an opportunity arises. So
do they give the job to Luke Robinson full time?
They give it to him.
Does he want the job?
I think they just give it to him. Well, he very quite rightly, because he's nothing to prove, and I think he's held it together a lot behind. He spoke of disharmony when he took over in a temporary capacity. So clearly things were not, were not right behind the scenes for whatever reason. And I suspect that he can't do any more audition-wise. That you were saying he's had the interim job on sufficient occasions to show that he can do it. I think he's very well respected in the game. So I would say you're not going to make the playoffs this year. You've already got your licence to be in Super League next year, so there's continuity there. You're not fighting a relegation battle. Luke, do it for the rest of this year in association with Andy Kelly, and the likelihood is that if you can show significant improvement, why wouldn't we give the job to you full time?
They are an enigma, Huddersfield. I just don't know how they get bigger, and even if they signed all the best players in the world and the best coach and whatever, are they at their ceiling? Can they grow? I don't know.
I think if there would be one criticism of Ian Watson's style, in the same way that Gareth Southgate has been criticised with England. It's quite a conservative approach. It's defence first, wear them down, and then produce stuff at the end of the game that will win you it. And it's a little one-dimensional to get new spectators in. You go there as neutral, and sometimes you're almost saying you've really got some talented players there. Move the ball a bit more, or try something. Don't get to 5 drives and a kick for 60 minutes and then decide you're going to play. Now that might be Ian Watson saying, but that's what the team I've collated is best at doing. I think if you're talking a separate issue about entertainment principle and value and how do you get more people, and particularly neutrals, maybe football fans, there is a strong football base at Huddersfield. What do they do in the summer? Well, they need to be entertained, don't they? So perhaps they could make a difference if they played a slightly different style. But clearly you've got to then sign players that are comfortable playing that style. Or maybe they've got some players like a Tuilola here or a Jake Connell that want to play that style but have been restricted from doing it. So it'll be interesting to see over the next few weeks.
You would think a Conservative coach would fit in with the owner, but there you go. Has anything else happened apart from on the pitch that we need to talk about? The things just you were at Rob Burrows' civic. What is a civic reception, Phil? Because you were there. What is it?
It was a chance for the city to pay tribute and commemorate what Rob had done for the city, and it was split probably into 2 halves. The rugby half, because obviously he's a freeman of the city of Leeds, based partly on being a key element of that generation that brought success to the city of Leeds. And there was a beautiful speech from Lindsay Hoyle, the president of the RFL, who came up from Parliament to eulogise about his rugby career. And then there was the charity part of his life, where obviously the chief executive of the MND Association spoke. Various civic dignitaries. The Lord Mayor made a great speech about how inspirational he was and represented the values of the city of Leeds. And it was all topped off with 10 minutes from JJB, which was the finest I've ever heard him speak. Very moved, very touching, spoke about both parts of his life, talked about legacy. It's on YouTube, I think on the Rhinos channel. That 10 minutes, if you don't watch anything else, watch that, because it's not about anything other than humanity at its best. But it was just a chance for the city to properly say farewell. And I hope for the family's sake, who obviously were there, that in some ways it draws a public line under everything, and it gives them the chance to deal with obviously the loss of a husband and a father and a son in whatever way they need to deal with it, because everything they've done has been absolutely exemplary, but in the public eye. So I think this was probably the last public occasion, and there was talk again of there will be ways of commemorating Rob, be that architecture or road naming or whatever, but it'll take some time and everybody will think about it and they'll all come together and do it. But the city will not forget was the theme behind it, and for that alone it was lovely. And of course it was in the banqueting hall at the Civic Hall, which is a very historic venue.
Now I want to know what a freeman of the city of Leeds can do. It probably involves sheep.
It's goats and Leeds Bridge, I think. Yeah, but
because there's sheep on the Leeds.
Rams.
Is
it rams or sheep? Yeah.
It's a hanging sheep.
And eagles. Hanging sheep and eagles. No, owls. Sorry, owls.
Yes. We've gone Sheffield.
Owls.
What's on your town's crest? I don't even know what's on Wakefield's. Big W for for Wakefield.
So the only other, we spoke a little bit about Keithley last week.
Oh yes, Keithley.
Right,
yes.
Talking of coaches being sacked. One thing is a club is at liberty at any time, whether the club is top of the league, bottom of the league, to say it's not working. We are terminating your services. But the explanation, the detail,
we don't usually hear that.
That wasn't
that doesn't happen. No.
Wow.
Well, they obviously trust Jake Webster.
They've certainly backed him.
They put that, and one would suggest, and if you trust him as director of rugby, then maybe we don't know how he's going to be as a coach, but maybe he needs his own person in there. I don't know, but I can't come on here and slag off other team owners for making statements and stuff about this, that, and the other. But at least theirs was polite.
Oh yes,
That's the thing. It wasn't, it wasn't offering people out for a fight or whatever.
no, and it was comprehensive.
It was certainly interesting. And to the people who say, well, this is going to put off people wanting a job. Coaches are there's always desperate coaches. Right?
Yeah.
And Keighley are not the basket case as much as some other clubs.
Keighley are in fact playing Oldham this week in a match that could determine who gets promoted from League One.
Or get to play Anglian Vipers next year. Vipers. Gull Vikings. Selby Spiders. There was a spider in the shop earlier.
There was. Yet to work out if it was a money spider.
If it was, but no, it wasn't a money spider, so we let it live. Is that all the news? I'm assuming there's been lots of other transfers that we've forgotten about and stuff. But Brad Arthur. I can't believe it. I tell you what, this new government, they get things done quickly, don't they? Because Saturday we're there at Headingley. Rewind back to last week's podcast, and nothing's been done. Nothing's been done. That's what they said. Ian Blease came out. Nothing's happened yet.
Nope.
Hilarious. 3 days later? 4 days? He's here? Oh,
well, 2 days later it was announced that miraculously he'd got a visa and a flight.
Unless it's one like Jeff Tooby had at Bradford.
And he arrived for Thursday's game against Warrington.
Sat pitch side on a chair. I don't know where Sky found those chairs. There they were. And did not fancy standing up for the interview, I don't know.
Probably a jet lag.
Probably jet lag, yeah. But he's here. He's here now. It's official.
Who
knew?
He ran his first official training session today.
They all run around and do stuff, yeah.
And he'll select the team for Saturday's game with Hull KR.
People love that kind of video footage, even though it shows you absolutely nothing. There he is, passing the ball. And
it doesn't show you the tactics for Saturday, does it?
Run at Mikey Lewis, that kind of thing.
I think the jury is still out on if it's a valued exercise, if it's only going to be for 10 games remaining this year. I get it that it's a way of Ian Blease bringing somebody in with a fresh pair of eyes who is very well respected in the coaching world to run the rule over everything and possibly say, maybe you should make a change here, maybe you should look at either this player in this position, or perhaps you need to do some extra work with that one, or I wouldn't necessarily re-sign this one if their contract's up for renewal. Oh, and I'll take those 3 for my new club because they're good young guys. So I sort of get that he might be coming in more as a consultant, but I don't know what he can change on the field in 10 weeks when he's coming up against, he's not going to have them for a pre-season where he can bed in some new ideas. He's literally going to have them for probably 2 training sessions a week with a specific opponent in mind at the end of it. So I don't know how much he can change unless it genuinely is he wants to see if this position would suit him to do it next year, and Leeds can come up with a deal whereby he could possibly do it for 2025, and if Perth were going to come into the NRL in 26, 27 or 28, which again hasn't been decided.
So you haven't decided where the team's going to be yet, have they?
No, but it was PNG and now it's Perth, and his wife is from Perth, I believe. So I think he is the favourite to be the coach of Perth Bears, because I think there's going to be a link up with North Sydney.
I think I'd say Coventry. Or Chicago.
So, at the moment I think the jury is out on the logistics of how it's going to work.
I can't go to any Leeds games because I'll end up calling him Bill. If I see my question, I get confused. I just want to know if he's using Rowan Smith's hat. That's all I want to know.
I'll ask for you.
Ask. No, we always ask the big questions here on 4020. You watched the USA this morning.
I did. I watched the USA Young Hawks, the under-19s, who made their debut in the European Championships. USA is not in Europe, but it does come under the auspices of the European Federation. So, the under-19 championships are being played in Belgrade at the moment, 38-degree heat. In the first game, Ukraine beat Serbia. That was played yesterday evening, and this morning, slightly delayed because there had been storms in the area, and a third of the American team found themselves in Zurich, apparently, and the referee's luggage found itself in Amsterdam. That game with Scotland was moved until 10:30 local time this morning, and all the games are being streamed on the European Rugby League website. So got the opportunity to watch it. Great to see that the first young band of American players are playing the sport. They went down, I think it was 32-10, the final score. Scotland's spine just had a little bit more experience, but the USA were winning at the beginning. I think they were penalised 8 or 9 times for not playing the ball correctly, but that's an easy fix. But just great to see young Americans playing the game.
And
the Ukraine's a fantastic story because their under-19s clearly are just about at the age where they're all being conscripted. How they've got a squad together and trained them together and got out there is amazing.
And to say that Scotland have trouble with having a men's team, it's good to see they've got an under-19s team. Not quite the same as Ukraine, but it's...
Scotland are playing France in the semi-final.
Who of course beat England a couple of weeks ago. I'm assuming it's the same...
No, it's the England community line.
No, I mean the France's team.
Apart from a couple of the Catalan players that have been withdrawn because they're on the first team fringe at the Dragons, it is virtually the same French team, so they are heavy favourites because obviously they beat England Academy and this is England community lines. So England will play the Ukraine and Scotland will play France, and there'll be ranking matches. So I think Serbia play the US. Everybody gets 3 games anyway. So, but great to see. And if you're at a loose end, stick on the European Rugby League website and get details of. I think Wednesday the next 2 games. Just after state origin.
Yeah, that's perfect. How they scheduled that? Usually we schedule things all together. That's good, isn't it? And when we're off to Vegas, that's official now. So that's
yes.
People are moaning and people aren't moaning, and it's going to be great regardless. And if you can't go, it's going to be on the telly. So
all 4 games will be on the telly. Bookings are already high, which is great. There's always going to be people that aren't satisfied. But I was speaking very briefly to Chris Radlinski, and they were at Wigan were at the civic reception, and St Helens were there. Derek Beaumont was there, which is to his absolute credit. And he was saying that they'll judge success by 2 other teams going the following year, because it's not just Wigan and Warrington. That obviously, clearly, if you're the first and you're hoping to get, the local population, if they're going to pick a team to follow in Super League, it'll be one of those 2. But he said, that all of the costings and everything are available to any other club that wants to go. And if Super League gets a presence in an event like this, then he'll deem that a success. And I genuinely think that is the way he's looking at it.
As we said before, Green Bay Packers. That's not a massive. Green Bay's not a massive city that everyone's heard of before the NFL. The NFL, when they started playing games over here properly, as opposed to those games in the 80s and 90s, which were exhibitions, they started with 1, and now it's 3 games, and then they go to Mexico and they go to Germany, and they're
Spain,
everywhere.
And they're going to Spain this year as well.
Probably makes sense, doesn't it? If I had the ability to go to Vegas, I would go to Vegas. If I could do it in a day, that'd be perfect. But it's probably easier to do Vegas in a day than, I don't know, go to Scotland or something with our public transport here.
Wigan on the M62.
I see, speaking of public transport, they're going to have some trams or something in West Yorkshire.
Between Leeds and Bradford. And who would have thought?
We could be doing this podcast in 100 years. Obviously we won't be, but whoever is replacing us here will be saying the same thing. Yeah, the Leeds trolleybus system, it ain't happening. It's never going to happen. So we've done Vegas. That's happening. I think that is all the news. Vegas is going to be great. I wish I could get there, but maybe in the future. But who knows? Maybe I could go see Wakefield versus Lee there.
There is a possibility that if Wakefield are as ambitious as we believe they are, that once they get into Super League and the call goes out for other clubs that may want to put, I reckon Wakefield will put their hand forward.
They're going to make money in kits. They'll have a special kit.
And the hardcore fans who are season ticket holders will either go or will not, I don't think, ask for a refund on their ticket.
Well, you put a big screen up at Robin Park and invite all your season ticket holders.
Absolutely.
Wear big American hats and whatever Americans
Get
do.
Brian Carney to compare it as Uncle Sam.
The American? Do you know any Americans? Get him a hat.
Well, he did at the launch.
I saw there's some great pictures, weren't they?
Or Sam the American Eagle from the Muppets. He'd be good.
Rugby league players and pundits as Muppets. Go. We won't read any of them out. It'll be offensive. We're very lucky that, thanks to television and thanks to real life, I think we probably watched the 3 best games of the weekend.
Two of which were at the same venue.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, if you're looking for an in-depth review of London versus Castleford, you've come to the wrong podcast, I'm afraid, because we didn't watch it.
No, we were too busy watching Wigan and Saints.
Shall we start with the women's game, seeing as that was the first of the 3 games we've watched? Wigan 12, St Helens 16. One would assume that if Wigan hadn't got off to as slow a start as they did for whatever reason, they might have won. They might have won that game, and the league table now has 4 teams all on 12 points.
I think the 2 things that came out of it was, firstly, Wigan now are rightly being seen to join the Big Four, and that's on their defensive ability. Clearly their handling errors they made coming out of their own area ultimately cost them, but the desire to defend, which is something that Dennis Betts talks about when he took the job, with a very young average age squad, it's starting to reap its rewards. And if you're talking about defence, then you have to mention Jodie Cunningham's tackle, which, had Wigan scored, they would probably have just held on and won that game. It was a game-turning tackle, and she'd started the game at loose forward, dropped into the full-back role. Was it Anna Davis broke, who's got a fantastic scoring record this season?
15 tries, it says here in the paper.
And Cunningham's tackle was absolutely exemplary, because there was about 8 minutes to go, I think, and Wigan would have gone ahead, and you would have thought, with the way that the game had gone up till then, there weren't going to be a lot more points in the match. So, yeah, absolutely sensational. Great game, thoroughly enjoyed it. Kicked off at 5:30 as a lot of the women's games do, but by the time it was getting towards the end, which was 7:15, a lot of the crowd for the men's game was in, and they really got into it. It was brilliant.
And as we said, that's always how it's going to work. You're going to get people in if they accidentally watch it, because if you ask people to go at a separate time, you have to make a commitment to do that. If they turn up and see the end of a game, they might come again. You don't know. Who's going to be a woman of steel this year?
Oof.
I mean, we're only 8 games into the season, but that is halfway, isn't it? Almost, I think.
Yes, it'll
There's
be
no loop fixes,
14 games.
I've got to remember, because as we'll come on to, there's different rules in different competitions, but we've got York playing Wigan this weekend. So that's another test for Wigan.
That'll be a real test, yeah.
Away from home.
Yeah.
Jodie Cunningham, Faye Gaskin, could throw in any other number of... I mean, the thing is, this year, I've seen more of Leeds and St Helens because they play each other so many times. York have kind of gone slightly under the radar. They've had their injury issues. They came back and won 62-0 this week. Obviously, Tara Jane Stanley coming back has been crucial for them in the last few weeks. But Emma Kershaw...
And Megan Pakulis
scored a try this weekend as well. Emma Kershaw, 13 tries this year, formerly of Wakefield, so obviously keep an eye on how she's doing. But York on 12 points, Saints on 12 points. They've still got to play each other at some point. Leeds beating, where are they? Warrington, 50 points to 4, there they are. And
4 tries for Caitlin Beavers.
There you go, off the telly. And as we mentioned, Barrow winning away at Huddersfield 26-14.
That was the other really enjoyable thing about the Wigan doubleheader, was having Caitlin Beavers talking about both of those games. She was really eloquent, a new voice, but gave a real fresh perspective and enhanced the viewing experience, I thought.
And Courtney Winfield Hill next to Mark. They're a great partnership, those
brilliant.
Two. It's funny because obviously when you look back at Radio Yorkshire, you think the partnership everyone remembers is Mark and Scoey. But I always thought Scoey and Craig Murdoch were better together than those two, because they just had a chemistry. Yeah. Not that Mark and Scoey didn't, but it was just a different. Their call of the £1 million game. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. You can find it on our YouTube channel. So this weekend, as well as York Wigan, it's Saints Warrington, Barrow Leeds, and Huddersfield Featherstone, which is a big game at the bottom because obviously Huddersfield have only won 2 games, but Featherstone won 0. So you would expect Huddersfield to win and go above Barrow this week, but obviously Featherstone will be looking to.
And Zoe Hornby's retired.
Yes, I mean, step back.
Stood down.
Can't retire at 25.
No, and he's going to work. I mean, she's from the northeast, and there were 3 who shared a car to come to Leeds initially, and I think she was the last woman standing. And it's a tough call to, even if you're being paid expenses, to come down 2 or 3 times a week from from Newcastle. She's got a job with the Falcons Foundation. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I reckon Rugby Union are after her.
It's not going well for... because we seem to pick Leeds forwards as our favourite players, and it's not going well for us at the minute, because they either retire or they... Oh dear. That's where Leeds probably need something at the minute, and hopefully Grace Field's back for them soon from injury, but be on the lookout for forwards, I think. Called her Mini Danica. I think I was the only person who called her that. I'd never called it to her face, obviously.
Or Danicus.
Oh, well, she won't be listening. She'll be out somewhere. She always is.
There'll be a free tea somewhere.
There will be. Why don't we made her? People think I mean that when I say...
Not even a morsel from the table.
Wigan then beat St Helens 16-12 in the men's game, which was also good.
It was a fabulous game.
20,150.
Really
the atmosphere was great.
It was.
And the word, I don't like the word brave, because people say the footballers were brave. No, firemen, soldiers, fire people, whatever. But whatever the word is I'm looking for, he dropped your man. He went there, Paul Wellens. He dropped his star player who's off to the NRL.
I think
has been underperforming.
The great thing was that we saw some real young talent on both sides that really impressed, and you just think, sometimes we wonder where the game is going to find its next superstars. Harry Robertson, outstanding on debut for St Helens.
So not be known forever, Harry Robinson. That's what we all call him now.
Yeah,
Robertson.
And Zach Eckersley,
He's played like 5 games and won all the trophies.
Game or something, including scoring in the Challenge Cup final, and absolute, again, the winning try, but so composed at the back, and he's not even a full-back. But yeah, loads of young players playing who all enhanced their reputations in a game that we could be justifiably proud of representing the sport. It had everything, and even access from the Wigan coaching staff for Sky. What did we learn?
The problem with that is Matt Peatley's not one of these... I mean, he might be behind the scenes, we don't know. But when he's on the telly at the top of that, I tell you what, that gantry brings back terrible memories. 2004, the famous game where Wakefield were robbed in the playoffs, obviously.
Yes, read about it in Gareth Ellis's book.
I was doing reports for Ridings FM at the time, and we set off from Wakefield, got stuck in traffic, got to Wigan about, I'm going to say 10 to 8 because it sounds more dramatic. Got to the stadium, had to get up to the top of the gantry by 8 o'clock because that's where the radio points were, and I was doing a report into the news at 8, and if I wasn't there, I don't think anyone was at the studio. It was set up specifically for me to go out on it. Managed to get signed in just on time thanks to someone from 5 Live helping me, and then Wakefield were robbed. So every time they cut to John Wells, I'm going, getting shivers up my back. But
I just thought when they said we're going to have access to the team, that it would be the team that would be talking, not John Wells interpreting what the team was saying. And I'm sure there was insight there that perhaps we don't normally get. But had Matt Peat agreed to answer a question every 10 minutes, then...
But he doesn't throw teacups, does he?
No.
He's a thoughtful person.
Yeah, like, let's look at a clip and analyse it, and then we'll make a decision.
He's not going to... I think John Wells said at one point he's very calm. I think, yeah, he's always calm. I've seen him on the telly before. Well,
I wouldn't argue with Thomas Lulu.
Well, no. Is he the bad cop, do you think, of the pet?
He looks like the Hood. From,
not like how...
from Thunderbird.
Steve-O used to look like Dan Dare. The Mekong from Dan Dare.
Ask your grandparents' kids. The Hood.
But was it a gimmick? Yeah. Did it work? I don't know. It depends if you like that kind of thing. I don't think it...
It gave us a bit more insight, but yeah, fine. Good.
If Dennis Betts' team talk had been his actual team talk rather than go out and play well girls kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just...
Again, it just shows that we are...
Go tackle her.
We're a sport that does have almost unlimited access, and that should be one of our selling points.
Well, it probably works after the event rather than during the event because you can make your exciting in-house documentaries, which the one is being made about Wigan, isn't it? And this isn't the same kind of... And York are doing their thing, and it's not the same kind of thing. It's nice, You can't do it every week because, again, everyone will get bored of it.
But it gives you a layer of understanding that perhaps we don't normally get.
We'll see what the people thought about that. There'll probably be letters in the paper next week about it. But it was a great game. It was exciting. Why can't I remember the name of the guy they dropped?
Louis Dodd.
Louis Dodd. He's going to the NRL, and the fans were saying he's given up. He don't want to play anymore. They dropped him. They played well without him. Now, does he get back in the team this week? Maybe I should get on the press conference tomorrow and ask Paul Wells. I'll dress smart.
Why don't you? Big game for St Helens because having lost 3, Warrington.
Saints in crisis.
Big game. No, it's just a big game, isn't it? If they have, everybody wants to finish in the top 2, you would assume even at this stage that Wigan will have one of those spots. So I'm not sure that Saints can really afford to lose to Warrington. If they're going to usurp them, they would then be 4 points behind if they didn't win. So
let's make Kevin wait for the Warrington chat and talk about the third game of the week we saw, which was great, which was in the Wheelchair Super League on Saturday afternoon at the Edge. Free entertainment in Leeds.
We're fans anyway, but it don't get much better than that.
Leeds 44, London Roosters 40. Leeds led only on the hooter.
On the last play of the game.
Last play of the game. Tom Halliwell, very much like he's trying the World Cup final.
Set up by Nathan Collins, very much like he's trying the World Cup final.
And there it was. What a game. Entertainment all the way.
London missed probably more goal kicks than they would have liked, which ultimately cost them. Lewis King of London scored the first 5 tries that his team scored, 6 in all.
The wheel of steel.
It was sensational.
Bit of
very contrasting styles, bit of niggle.
Yeah, and as James Simpson mentioned afterwards, maybe the physicality was a bit too much, and which is the... Remember at the start of the season when the players were getting upset about being sent off and Rugby League was in an existential crisis, and we seem to have forgotten about that now because players aren't getting sent off as much.
Unless it's Andre Savelio.
And the Players' Union, no one cares about that anymore because players aren't getting fined and the existential crisis has gone. It's almost like every season where something happens at the start, it kind of rolls back a bit and then we all forget. We'll see what happens next year. But Wheelchair Rugby League does have that existential crisis because... France, although they wheelchair each other in the head there, so
and they have changed their coach and manager.
So there is that, but as James rightly points out, it's okay for me watching from the silence. Oh, these people bashing each other and stuff, but there are people out there who genuinely have disabilities and things with them that would be exasperated by being bashed and knocked over and falling out of your chair every 5 minutes. So it's a tricky one. And
also, London had mastered, as is their right to do so, slowing the play the ball. It's the first time I've really seen it. I think Wigan tried to do it a little bit against Catalan in the cup final. They felt that if they could slow Catalan's natural desire to take the ball in quick and slip out a pass, then they would, they'd try and do that. And you've got to be incredibly fit to do it for 80 minutes, and they couldn't. And I think London decided that they were going to take every ounce of time out of the game that they could, whilst ever they could, to break up the spontaneity of Leeds, and it very nearly worked for them. It was fascinating to watch.
4 wins from
very
4.
High quality.
This is the thing. It's when you watch it, especially we were stood up on the balcony, so you've got a higher view than if you're pitch side, but.
We were almost the drone.
Yeah, we were the spider cam of things. Can we afford a spider cam? Can we get one?
I do think that, and we both said it, and I think I tweeted about it when I got home because I was still imbued with what we'd watched. That should have been online somewhere.
And again, it's what is our league? What is everything? I know there were 2 Super League games on at the same time, which doesn't help. But there's always going to be clashes now.
Somebody should have put that on. And word would have got round that something a little bit special was happening, and if you'd wanted to tune in, you could have done. I don't think I've ever seen a more low-key Hull derby in terms of profile.
Yeah,
it's like even Sky, who can choose. Yeah,
it wasn't there one of their games.
It's like, well, we'll get there 5 minutes before kick-off, and Hull KR are going to win, and Hull KR have won, and there was a bit of niggle and ball control during the game, controversy, but. In terms of profile, that's probably the lowest Hull derby for quite a while. And neutral fans may have tuned into a Wheelchair game to see that incredible finale.
I know clubs have finite resource, but I almost think this is where if the RFL don't have the money to do it, clubs might have to do it themselves. And you don't always have to, you know, I got started in broadcasting doing work experience, which is in effect working for nothing.
Yeah.
Which is not right, but it's how, unfortunately in this business, it is how it is.
In every business, to be honest.
So I'm sure there are people out there who would
put it on their CV.
Yeah.
To start their career rolling.
I mean, you have to do it properly, but
well, even the...
I'll just team up with universities or colleges.
Well,
I know we're in summer now, so it's the wrong time.
The under-19s games from Serbia didn't have commentary.
No.
But it didn't matter. There's an open mic, you could hear the crowd cheering and conversing and, you know, and you got good pictures. That's all you need.
Because
that would have sold itself.
It's a genuine... And the same goes for the women's games as well, that aren't being broadcast on TV or on the Sportsman or whatever. The opportunity is there for clubs to do something with things which could be bigger in the future and could get more people involved in our sport.
Yeah.
And
which at the moment the men's running game is not going to do until you take Wigan and Warrington to Vegas.
We've seen with the number of people, I think it might have been Jodie Cunningham this week who posted something on Instagram or whatever about the number of messages she gets from parents and significant others of kids who've found rugby league and found these people as their new heroes, not just Jodie, but the other players in the game. And the same goes here.
Absolutely.
Because we've got to look for new people to watch. We're very lucky as a sport that we have not just one, version's the wrong word, but we haven't just got the men, we've got the women, we've got wheelchair rugby, we've got PDRL, we've got LDRL, we've got all these things which can be used as a force for good. And
you have to sell the arse off them, to coin a marketing phrase I just made up.
People can't have forgotten the World Cup. It was only a couple of years ago, but have we lost that momentum? Well, yes, probably, but we can get it back, or we can get, you know, there were a fair few people there on Saturday. It wasn't just us.
And the noise levels were high, and the finale, that obviously most of the people there were supporting the home team, was sensational.
4 wins from 4.
4 wins from 4.
Could win another league leader shield. The challenge now is to win a grand final.
Well, the other result was interesting of the weekend.
38-all between Halifax and Hull. Hull are a side who are on the up, it seems.
Yep, first point of the season. But you wouldn't have expected them to get it at Halifax.
Carson says there is a YouTube channel that broadcasts West Yorkshire junior and community games for $2.99 a month with only an open mic. Give ample coverage for these clubs and is cheap. Clubs can do it for free.
Yeah.
Clubs can afford to spend however much it is on getting someone there to put a camera in the right
think
place.
The biggest game of the weekend coming up is probably the League One clash between Oldham and Keighley, because there's so much riding on it outside of what is League One going to be next year. You know, if you don't get out this year, are you ever going to get out? Two very ambitious clubs, and the winner is going to take a huge step forward. And I know Oldham will probably be streaming it on Roughhead TV or whatever, but that is a game that the governing body should be selling to its widest possible audience.
York Wigan as well. It's another game where there's intrigue there. And where can we watch it? Where can we see it? We keep saying this every week. If I had the wherewithal, I would offer my services, but I don't. I don't have the equipment. I don't have the ability, so I'm not going to turn up with my bloody laptop and a webcam to do it, because it wouldn't do it justice. But the people are out there. We just need to get the right people doing things. So many times we've wasted opportunities by wasting on things that don't have an upside. We're the best way in the world, and it's great for Carson who can watch it and for people who want to pay $2.99, but that's very much narrowcasting.
Yep.
I mean, my nephew plays rugby league at age group level, but I'm not interested in watching any other team play any other team. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
You want to watch the elites wherever possible, or the semi-professional.
London stream their games with. You saw the camera on Saturday, the green thing, which follows the play. I don't know how it works, but it's automated. It's back to AI and robots again. Now they put their games on YouTube. It's not the easiest thing to follow because it is further back. It's for coaches really, but at least they're out there and you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on. There's no graphics and so on and so forth, but it's something we need to do. in this world where we are partnered with IMG, who we use for their streaming services, not saying they should be filming every game or whatever, but we can tap into their knowledge and how we can do things better. And then, hey, because IMG and the Boogeymen.
If you can show USA Young Hawks against Scotland at 10:30 in the morning, you should be able to show Leeds and London Roosters in the Wheelchair Super League, the clue being the words Super League.
It says Betford in the front of it as well. I'm off to the darts on Sunday. I'm assuming Fred will be there. I mean,
he loves his darts. Loves the darts. Stick to darts.
Yeah, I keep meaning to tweet Mark that, but I want him to get me some tickets. Warrington versus Leeds on Thursday. What was it? It says Friday here, but it was Thursday.
It was definitely Thursday.
You were there on you were there Friday.
So
you were there
definitely
Friday.
Thursday.
What happened? Did anything happen? Was it exciting?
Warrington.
Are Leeds different now?
Warrington were outstanding for 8 minutes. 4 minutes at the start of the game where they went 12-0 up, and 4 minutes just before half time when they scored another 12 points. So 24 of the 30 points they scored were in that 8-minute window, of which Leeds were abysmal during that time.
So
the rest of the game, there was nothing much between the teams.
With James not being here, was that the final 6 inches then? That 8 minutes?
Absolutely was. I
think that's what he says.
Leeds got off to the most appalling start, which Warrington brilliantly exploited. I thought Danny Walker was fantastic. Clearly, Matt Duffy took all the headlines because he does when he's in the mood to run the ball the way he did. Then he's the eye-catching player. But I thought Danny Walker was the catalyst for a lot of it. I think Leeds dropped the ball on the second tackle. Warrington scored from the kick-off. Walker makes a break out of dummy half. Warrington scored. A 12-0 down. Brad Arthur's looking at his ticket going, did I get me a return?
5 things Brad Arthur needs to do at half time.
Just going. Leeds got it back to 12-4. It could have been 12-8 or 12-10, but a brilliant tackle stopped Jared O'Connor. So there's nothing between it. And then in the 2 minutes before half time, Warrington managed to construct two tries. One comes off a ricocheted kick, but it came off the back of Leeds conceding a sloppy penalty. Other than that, second half probably Leeds just edged it. So, but again, another defeat for Leeds, and Warrington know that if they're going to be seriously up there with the bigger, better teams, they're going to have to be more consistent than that.
If we use the baseball way of describing the league table, Leeds are 2 games back now on the playoffs because they are 4 points behind Salford. Oh, by the way, that's the other thing I meant to mention. No golden point in Wheelchair Super League. No. So if it had finished 40-all, it would have been a draw. Obviously, as we see with...
Would they think? Because they're not sure either.
Well, I asked the match officials. I did a bit of journalism for a change. Kevin is one of our Warrington correspondents. Wire didn't get out of first gear really. Leeds come back in a bit when down a man. The old Did they have 2 yellow cards in the game?
Yeah, one was late on. Yeah. One was George Williams for a high tackle, and that will have had an impact on the game.
High tackles about.
I just think Warrington need to get out. If they were in first or second gear, this is the time of the season where they need to be playing in third or fourth, and it doesn't matter. If they'd have beaten Leeds in the same way that they beat Huddersfield a week before, that's the performance they needed.
So, to the shock of no one, Saints versus Warrington is one of the Sky denoted fixtures this weekend.
Yeah, should be.
That's good. On Friday, along with Lee, London, and Huddersfield, Salford. London, as mentioned earlier, losing to Castleford 20 points to 34, but it's another win for Castleford.
Yeah,
so that's the
first
important thing.
Back-to-back wins of the season.
Steve Mascott is here from Belgrade.
Is he?
He's at rugbyleague.com. Steve Mascott. He's in Belgrade. He
I know he's there.
He's there. He said hello. Hello, Steve.
I hope he's on the whatever the local beer is.
Finding merch and stuff to bring back. Lee 20, Huddersfield 16. Again, we obviously didn't watch this live because we were at the wheelchair game. But Huddersfield started well, and then Lee came back and Lee won. So well done.
Jake Connor scored a Jake Connor-esque try, but it wasn't enough.
So is Jake Connor good again this week?
The coach has left, hasn't it? You don't know. You don't know what the relationship between the two was. I suspect that's one of the disharmonies that Luke Robinson was talking about, and maybe now if the arm goes round Jake Connor and he can be brought back into the fray, he may well prove to be a catalyst for them for the rest of the season. I just think that was a game that Huddersfield really had to win if they had any pretension of getting close to the top 6/7. And I suspect Lee also now, unless they beat Wigan in the game in hand that they've got to play, I don't think they'll make the playoffs either.
Every time you mention disharmony, I keep thinking of Thatcher, and it's Huddersfield again.
Where there is disharmony, there will be
whatever
peace.
it is. Yeah. Steve's doing dry July.
Is he?
So he's not drinking. So alcohol-free beer. Is that a point? I don't drink beer, so. I mean,
what's the local delicacy food-wise in Belgrade?
Does anyone know?
Well, I'm sure he's feasting on it, and he can let us know.
Hull FC 10, Hull Kingston Rovers 24. It was 18-0 at half-time. And
I think the game was over, really, in the first half.
Player of the match, Richard Stead, for invoking the spirit of Dale Winton in his commentary on Radio Humberside, so well done to him. Didn't win Quote of the Week in the paper, but,
should have.
He wins our heart, so well.
And again, a fight back from Hull, which shows that they're probably in a slightly different space than they were at the beginning of the season. But I've not heard Scott Griggs as critical of his team as he was after that game, and how they to paraphrase, trained like Tarzan, played like Jane at the beginning.
Is that allowed? Can you say that?
I don't think you can.
What was Steve trying to refer to in one of his columns this week? I think it was about ladies of easy virtue. I think you probably can still make that comparison, but I don't know if you're allowed to or not. But stodge in the Soviet-style cafeteria. Lots of pasta and rice and chicken.
Okay.
Up the workers.
A workers' canteen.
Yeah, just to balance out the Thatcher mentioned earlier. Elliot Minchella scoring late on to confirm the result. No further action taken against Brad Fash for allegedly
putting his hand where he shouldn't.
Yeah. Do we know what's happened to those players who accused London have accused of saying naughty words to them yet? Because that seems to have gone quiet again, doesn't it? One of them was on the telly because Hakim Aludi got told off by the ref. Don't know.
No action because there wasn't a clear evidence one way or the other.
Cue everyone finding stills to
or enhancing.
Yeah, which could be fake. Could be fake news.
Yeah.
Catalans 20, Salford 0. If you turn over at half time, you didn't miss anything because they only got 2 points in the second half.
That was a tough watch, the second half. Again, I think Paul Rowley upset with the fact that his team didn't play in the manner in which he would like them to play. But I suspect that when you lose your 2 strike centres that are as good as Nene McDonald and Tim Laffey, it's going to affect your ability to score points. Another grind out win for the Dragons, which on the back of winning by a point at Hull KR the week before has got them back in the mix for finishing second, which is the main objective now, I think. But not an easy watch. Hats off to the Salford fans who sang fantastically throughout the entire second half because there was nothing to watch.
Catalan Dragons, who of course once signed a player who was sacked by Rugby Australia,
Indeed.
sick, for his comments and stuff about people who are allowed to live their lives.
Yep.
Sacked 3 blokes for
going to a concert.
Yeah.
And forgetting to come back.
So now that bar for what you sack people for is very low at the Catalan
But they
Dragons.
have managed to sign Luke Keary on the back of it.
Just make sure he doesn't go to any concerts.
Don't be giving him Simon Moran's phone number.
This week then, Huddersfield, Salford, Lee, London, St Helens, Warrington on Friday. Saturday, Hull FC Wigan at 2, Leeds Hull KR at 3. So you can watch the first half of 1, yeah. And then Sunday, Catalans. So all excitement there. In the Championship, it finished Batley 22, Barrow 2, Bradford 2, Wakefield 14.
Halifax, again, a great defensive display from Wakefield. They're almost impregnable this year.
Everyone's injured apparently. So
what for Wakefield?
Yeah. So we'll see what happens when they go to Toulouse this weekend.
Big game for them.
Halifax 6, Featherstone 14. Sheffield 22, Swinton Lions 34. Don't know who's on the tip sheet this week.
Which is astonishing when you think that either by injury or possibly in response to the controversy the week before, all of Swinton's loan players disappeared this week. And yet they go to the team that's in second and come away with arguably their best win of the season.
Whitehaven 24, Toulouse 34. Now the worrying thing here is, and Whitehaven were winning 18-6 at half time, 331 That's not good. For a second-tier sport, this is when people want TV coverage and whatever, 331. I know Toulouse don't bring anyone before anyone starts on that, but that's not good on a Saturday afternoon. Nothing else going on, I don't think.
No.
Don't remember?
No. Wimbledon, maybe, but...
No, I'm not sure on that one. Widnes 34, Dewsbury 12, and York 27, Doncaster nil, the Mark Applegarth effect still.
Yeah, 3 out of 4, isn't it?
Wish I'd copyrighted that. This weekend, Featherstone Doncaster, almost a derby. Toulouse versus Wakefield. On Sunday, it's Barrow Sheffield, Batley Dewsbury, Bradford York, Halifax Widnes, and Swinton Whitehaven.
I do think Bradford York could be an interesting game. Obviously, York are improving. Bradford still sort of holding their own in the top 4. But
Do they still hate each other after James Ford criticised the pitch a few years ago? I know he's not at York anymore. I'm aware of that, but
probably not. I would imagine that Bradford are celebrating the possibility of rebuying Odsel for a tenth of what.
We didn't talk about that either, did we? Oh yeah. Because what can you say? It's like all the dots are there, all around.
There's a picture there somewhere.
There's a picture looks like a hole in the ground, but you can't quite. Just go and buy. You can buy the back issue. Where it must be on the wall somewhere. Yeah. The Christmas issue from when was it? Was that 5 years?
2019.
Well? The Christmas special.
Yeah, 84-page special because there were 10,000 words devoted to.
Where's the QR code? Is
what may or may not have happened at Bradford.
Put it over my head today. You can just see my hair at the top. Get your phone out, scan that. It will take you to the website, and you
can still buy it. In fact, it's got an ISBN number, so
it's on that website.
Classified as a book.
Yeah, you can see it on that website we don't mention, but buy direct from the publisher. There you go, back. What do you mean? You preferred it, so in 2 weeks, by the way, it's Wakefield Featherstone at the home of Rugby League. So I might make my first appearance. Yeah, I might make my first appearance there at Bellevue since the start of the season. The last time I watched Wakefield Featherstone, I think it was around 93 or 94 there. But didn't bother in the Championship Wilderness years.
I can still remember the game in, was it 98?
The grand final.
Garin Casey.
Yeah, it's all exciting. So, yeah, no, Carl Pratt, isn't it? The fans still bitter about that. Get over it. Says the man who refers to. So again, that was long before I was born. But different. It's different. Well done to Newcastle. Managed to move their venue at the very last minute. So well done to them.
The pitch was waterlogged and took it to a new area, Bladen.
Lost 42-16 to Newcastle. But look, it was tight early on, and then Hunslet moved on as the game progressed. But well done to the organisation, because it would be easy just to cancel the game and say no, we can't do it. So well done to them. Hunslet, they've got a rugby union team now and a football team. I don't know what the pitch is going to be like in the summer. The American football team play there as well these days.
I don't know if they're still playing.
No, because that would be more of a tie-up. Is there a Gaelic football team around? South Leeds is a Irish area.
There's a Gaelic football team that plays, I think, on Scuttle playing field.
Get the Gaelic football.
I've seen them training there.
Yeah. I like watching it when it's on. Sometimes you think, this is just mad. And then when they play the Australians in the made-up rules series, which is just violence. Brian Carney used to do it on Sky. He's good on that.
Yeah, GAA.
Oldham 32, North Wales 6. It's always a tangent. And Workington 14, Rochdale 12.
That's a really good win for Workington, who've struggled this year. But that puts them back into potential playoff contention. Yeah, the
playoffs are between everyone else and Workington, because then you've got the gap to Cornwall and Newcastle. And Cornwall are the destination for Workington this weekend, Sunday at 1 o'clock. They're playing at 1 o'clock, so it'd be finishing time for the men's darts finals in the evening. North Wales Hunslet at 2:30, Oldham Keighley and Rochdale Midlands at 3 o'clock. I mean, Midlands will see that as a winnable fixture.
Yeah, they normally do quite well against Rochdale, don't they?
Yeah, not to upset our Rochdale audience, but so Keighley had the week off.
Yep.
So now they're back
for their big game at Oldham.
See what statement they put out next. It's all exciting.
I think if Keighley win that, it's probably still up for grabs. But if Oldham win it and go 3 points ahead of Keighley, you'd think that Oldham have virtually secured the promotion position.
Aren't things exciting?
Yes.
So much exciting rugby league to go and watch. Are there wheelchair fixtures this week? I've not checked.
Yes, Leeds have got the week off. So they've got the bye.
I should go. Where's the wheelchair page? I've lost it. I don't know where it is. Go to the RFL website. All the details are on there. It was Tom Halliwell's birthday.
It was Tom Halliwell. He was supposedly buying the drinks, but I'm suspecting he didn't.
Wigan, Halifax on Saturday.
Yep.
Hull, London on Sunday. So there you go. Another trip up north for the Roosters. Yeah, Tom Halliwell's going the winning try. 25 World Cup
I know,
winner.
and he thought he was on the downward slope. For goodness.
Depressing. And you didn't get picked either. You
No,
were on the bench.
I
Very
got there
disappointing.
early enough to say, well,
Squad number. Maybe next year.
offered to wear Nathan Mulhall's Crocs.
Oh, yeah, we did mention this, have we? Can't remember if I mentioned this before, but have you ordered yours yet?
Well, I'm hoping he's got a spare pair.
Are you the same size as? Cause are your shoes the same as Mrs. Kaplan?
I don't think so.
So it's not as if you could buy two pairs and then you could
wear
share them.
one set each. No.
Yeah. So
Cats wouldn't look good in them.
he's got one blue croc and one, we'll say amber croc, because amber's a movable feast as well, isn't it? And he wears one of each with things on, croc tags. But Wakefield has started selling them now, so I've not got any crocs. So, and there's some purple ones in my house, but I can't wear them out of the house. They wouldn't look good, but they've got to do a deal, haven't they? Leeds Rhinos have got to do a deal with the people from Crocs.
Oxen Crocs.
If not the people from Crocs, then just make some knockoff ones. Because I've seen them in shops. So, one blue, one amber. And if, Warrington fans could do the same thing, because no one could tell the difference between the blue, primrose, amber.
Yes, maybe there's a cross promotion.
Yeah. Wigan cherry and white, or red and white, and again, no one will know this if you're a Saints fan. So if you're wearing different colour Crocs, black and white for Hull, red and white for Hull KR. If you're from the good people at Crocs, get in touch. And we'll put you in touch with people.
We'll facilitate it.
We'll have some Crocs on the table. Nathan Mulhall's Crocs. We won't be having these Crocs on. I think that's it. I think now we've remembered things as we went through.
Unless there are any late questions from
it's just
the delightful audience, or Steve wants to tell us what he's having for dessert.
He's still there. So very much thank you for watching. British Rugby League. This is on the John Davidson Patreon. The Steve Mascord's written this story. Can I quote his story?
Yeah.
He says, according to former Cronulla chairman and current Hunslet non-executive director Damien Irvine, who's been on the podcast
and is now at Ebbsfleet,
where
London
London played. British Rugby League is paying IMG at least $400,000 a year in consultancy fees, which is a story put out there for people to go, what a waste of money.
What are we getting for that?
What are we getting for that? We've got a streaming platform. That is theirs. That's their streaming platform.
We've got a grading system.
We've
got some other ideas that won't be allowed to be implemented at the moment.
We've got group stage of the Challenge Cup. We haven't got that because we've got the pointless.
We've got no loop fixtures.
No,
we haven't got that.
We've got rid of Magic.
Magic's gone.
No.
We're going to Magic this year.
I've applied for accreditation. I mean, I might go for one day. I don't think I can spend 2 days in Elland Road. I don't know. It brings back bad memories of Elland Road. Apart from the good memories. What else what have IMG ever done for us?
Yeah.
Coming soon to 4020 magazine. The new issue of which is here.
The 13th
with all your favourite
issue.
people on. And some others. Who was it who pointed out that it was a very young picture of you? I thought it was a bit harsh, wasn't it? You could have put a picture of you. We could have put a picture of you from the Leeds programmes from the mid-90s.
It was 13 years ago when the first issue came off the press.
Did I say? It's a very young picture of Ellery Hanley. 8 out of 10 on the front cover as well, but there you go.
So spend the month soon if you can identify everybody, front and back.
Is there a list? I'm assuming there is a list. No.
Done deliberately.
If you get it right, whoever sends in the most number of people right, I will send you a prize. And the prize, unfortunately, as we end the podcast, is I've got a wedding coming up, right? So
you have,
I've told Phil this story already, so he's going to act surprised, like we've not told him this already. I was online last week. He said clearance sale somewhere, so I thought, right, I'll click on this, and he had some stuff I thought I'll buy for Christmas presents. So I had to get it up to a certain amount for free postage. So I looked on the greetings cards. So I've got a Mother's Day card for next year. Get in there.
Excellent. It's
got a monster on it. It's furry. It says mummy because I'm 44. Am I? Yeah. No, 43. 44 later this year. But I am a child. And I bought a wedding card for this. It says, and they lived happily ever. Something. I don't pay any attention. These blokes don't buy cards. Only notice now on the front of it, because there's no other clue. There's a top hat, right, and a bow tie.
Right.
And on the inside it says Mr. and Mr. Well, so that's...
I know somebody...
I can't put the pen on and tell it's a Mrs.
No, I know somebody who has is it an estate agency?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Mr. and Mr.
Yeah. But they've already got married, so I can't send them that. So
no, but it could be promotional for their company.
It could be promotional for them, yeah. So if you want to win his and his wedding card, then get in touch. We'll be back next week. I think on Monday. I think we might have a special guest. We might not. If we don't, it's James. And if we do, it's not James. But thanks for watching.
There might be 4 of us.
Thanks for listening. Emma, who watches every week, thank you very much. I'll explain why at some point, but thank you very much for watching, you all, and your comments, and we'll see you again next week. So thankfully the microphones will work this week, I think, because no one's complained, so it must be.